Elvis did his last show on this date. Welcome back to On This Day. Today's date is June 26, 2023. It is the 177th day of the year. There are 188 days left in 2023. It's your 26th Monday in your 26th week and the 6th day of summer. There are 89 days left until fall. Today is National Canoe Day. National Canoe Day is celebrated on June 26 every single year. Even though it's a Canadian holiday, it's celebrated in the US as well. Canoeing is both a sport and a recreational activity, and in our history, we've used them as a form of transportation. I like canoes. They're pretty cool. I've kayaked and I've canoed, and I think canoeing's a little more leisure. I kind of like it. All right, let's see what else June 26 has given us. 1927, the Cyclone roller coaster opens on Coney Island. 1934, the United States President Franklin Delano Roosevelt signs the Federal Credit Union Act, which establishes credit unions. I always wanted to start a channel where I just explain things that are in our life, but we really don't know about them, or what the backstory is. Like 90% of the people in the world don't know the difference between a bank and a credit union. On my live stream last night, we talked about the generations, baby boomers, Generation X, but before the baby boomers, there was the silent generation. Why were they called the silent generation? I actually looked it up. It's because they didn't protest anything. It was after World War II and the Great Depression. It was really before Vietnam and all that. So they really didn't protest anything. And at the time, if you were saying anything against the government because of McCarthyism, you might get hauled in for questioning. So it was a weird time in the United States. But that's why they call them the silent generation. Moving on. 1974, the Universal Product Code is scanned for the first time to sell a package of Wrigley chewing gum at the Marsh Supermarket in Troy, Ohio. 1975, 2 FBI agents and a member of the American Indian Movement are killed in a shootout on Pine Ridge Indian Reservation in South Dakota. Leonard Peltier, I think that's it, is later convicted of the murders in a controversial trial. 1977, Elvis Presley held his final concert in Indianapolis, Indiana at Market Square Arena. Thanks to the movie back 2 years ago, Elvis Presley's getting some attention again, and I think it's well deserved. Not a lot of people realize how much he did for rock and roll music and music in general. I think because he got into drugs later and he got really big and he wasn't a sex symbol like he used to be, even though a lot of women, regardless of how big he got or how he looked, still thought he was the sexiest man alive. Elvis had an amazing beginning to his career. The hurdles he had to get over to actually become a celebrity are pretty insane. He had an overbearing mother. He had a really weird manager that controlled everything. He was accused of stealing music from black musicians, and white people felt he was just trying to sound like a black person and he was singing black music. What a lot of people don't realize is Elvis Presley was extremely poor and was raised in the black community in Mississippi and then eventually in Memphis. As a boy, most of his friends were African American. A lot of the music that he got big on were songs from black musicians. But we're in a weird place in this country at the time, and a lot of them couldn't get contracts, they couldn't get the music out, and they just wanted their music to be heard in a lot of situations. Now, I'm not saying Elvis Presley was totally innocent of any bad behavior, but a lot of music like Hound Dog was basically given to him. I think the biggest problem is nobody thought he was going to make money with it. They just thought he was going to be broke just like the rest of them, playing music for the pleasure of playing music. 1997, J.K. Rowling publishes the first of her Harry Potter novel series, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, in the United Kingdom. 2007, Pope Benedict XVI reinstates the traditional laws of papal election in which a successful candidate must receive 2/3 of the votes. And then they put white smoke up through the chimney and everyone knows they got a new pope. 2015, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in a 5-4 decision that same-sex couples have a constitutional right to marriage under the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution. Happening now. Over the weekend, there was a little bit of a revolt in Russia. If you haven't been following the Russian-Ukrainian war, Russia deployed a mercenary group called Wagner. Well, they've had some problems and they didn't agree with what the Russian army was doing. This has been going on for months. And then they accused of the Russian army of trying to kill some of their soldiers. So the guy that leads the mercenary group decided to turn back towards Russia, and he was going to use his military to overthrow Putin. He'd gotten into Russia, I guess, took over a couple towns, reports are saying, and then he struck a deal with Putin, turned around and moved his forces to Belarus. We'll see how all that plays out. Movies released on June 26, 2009, The Hurt Locker. This was a pretty good movie. It starred Jeremy Renner. It's about a bomb disposal unit in Baghdad, and it confronts an increasingly life-threatening situation in the days leading up to the end of their tour. EOD, that's what they're called. In the U.S. Army, we call it EOD, Explosives Ordnance Detection or something like that. These are the guys that wear the big suits, go out and blow up bombs, and they clear minefields and stuff like that. We used to clear mines with a grappling hook, basically. You lay on the ground, you swing it, and you throw it as far out there as you can on a rope, and then you drag it back. And if nothing goes off, you just cleared a path, so now you can walk on the drag marks where the grappling hook was. It was ingenious. Anyway, this film won a total of 6 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, Best Director, and it wasn't shot in Baghdad. It was actually shot in Jordan. Born on June 26, 1984, Aubrey Plaza. This girl's weird. Breaking through with her role as April Ludgate in the television show Parks and Recreation, she would later be cast in FX Legion in 2016. Her debut leading role was a feature film in 2012 called Safety Not Guaranteed. She's been in all kinds of things, but I think her best work comes during her interviews. She was on David Letterman a few times, and she's just extra weird. Do yourself a favor, watch some of those. Aubrey Plaza, David Letterman interviews. Matter of fact, I'll find some and I'll link them down below. She's extra weird, and I don't know how much of it is an act or she's truly that weird. Interesting story. One of my favorite stories about her. She had a mild stroke when she was like 22. She was on a date and something was going wrong, and her boyfriend at the time was like 29. She was 22. Little bit of a difference, but nothing illegal, right? So he takes her to the emergency room, and they're asking her all kinds of questions, and she's all confused. She had a stroke, and they're all, how old are you? She's all, I'm 16. Well, she looks kind of young, so it could be believable, and the boyfriend's all, no, she's 22, and she's all, no, I'm 16. He's all, she's 22, and they're just looking at him like, who is this creep? Died on June 26, 2022, Jupiter, the Amur tiger at the Columbus Zoo and Aquarium. It's in Ohio. He died of COVID. Jupiter was a 14-year-old Amur tiger, which most people know it as a Siberian tiger. For some reason, they started calling it Amur tigers. Anyway, he had some other medical problems that they were dealing with, so he kind of had a weakened immunity, and I guess he got COVID from being too close to someone. Jupiter was born at the Moscow Zoo and was brought to the zoo in Columbus in 2015 after spending some time in a zoo in the Czech Republic. He had 9 cubs in total. 6 of them were born at the Columbus Zoo. All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Now go out, have a great day, and be nice to each other.